Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back
to our channel.
Another episode of Game of Tomes.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a little podcast thing happening up in here at the moment, which we'll have to substitute for our live show this month because someone is traveling the world, and I am not traveling the world, but I will be doing stuff. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about our picks for September and October. Hopefully this is going to actually go up a couple days before Halloween, so
yeah,
perfect timing because
so
our
exciting.
picks for the spooky season was Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen and Wuthering Heights by Charlotte Brontë. Oh! There it is. That is a really nice copy.
Right? Aren't they so pretty?
You have the cloth bounds. Wow. Those are nice. Both of these were a reread for me, but it was, I think, Carolyn's first time reading Northanger, right?
Yes. The only reread was Wuthering Heights. I read Wuthering Heights probably in 2019. I hadn't reread it before, so it was so exciting to reread it. So
today we're going to be asking, asking the hard questions about the Gothic, getting into all of the spookiness, all of the misery, really. Let's be clear, I loved Wuthering Heights. Thank God it's over, because the power of that book to make you just
be in the depths of despair.
Truly in the depths, in the pits, in the darkness of despair is a lot. So we want to know what your thoughts are. Please let us know. I have seen a great divide on Wuthering Heights. It's been people either love it or want to scream at the book, rip it up. So yeah. But did you want to? Why don't you start with your thoughts? We haven't talked about this, so I want to hear your thoughts.
Like I said, it was my first time reading Northanger Abbey. I love Jane Austen. I haven't read a Jane Austen. I always try to read one a year. I didn't read one last year, so this is my first Jane Austen, I want to say in 2 years then. And I just love her writing. I think that she's such an incredible storyteller, and she's just so entertaining and fun, and I always have a great time reading her books. And I loved seeing how she handled the Gothic, because I think when I reread, because I was reading them at the same time, and when I was reading Northanger Abbey, I had such different feelings than when I was reading Wuthering Heights, because I felt like I was a fun romp with Catherine in Northanger Abbey, and then in Wuthering Heights, again, it's the depths of despair. And I think that it's so interesting, and we're going to talk about this a bit more, how the two authors handle the Gothic, because Jane Austen is very much making a parody on the Gothic, and Emily Brontë is much more pure Gothic misery, darkness, jealousy, despair, all of that, and I just think it's so great. Northanger Abbey, I do have some things that I didn't completely love about it, and I think it's just because I always have a hard time not comparing Jane Austen to her other books that I love. My favorites are Pride and Prejudice and Emma, and I love so much about those that it's hard to not compare them. On its own, I think it's an incredible book. I think she's one of the best writers. Wuthering Heights, I love it so much. I don't know, it was a 5-star on my first read.
Ooh.
First of all, I don't love star ratings to begin with, but I feel there was something about it that was I don't know if it was lacking or if just because I'm a different reader and I've changed since the first time I've read it. I'm not sure, but I feel maybe discussing it will help solidify my feelings a bit more. What about you? Tell me your thoughts.
Both of these were rereads. So Northanger Abbey, I bumped it up a star, but again, I don't think either of us really like star ratings really, but it's just a feeling. Just a basis. Northanger Abbey, in my personal opinion, is so boring. But I really liked it. I was in the mood to be bored. I was in the mood for nothing to happen, and nothing really happened. So I was well pleased.
I do have to say I was a bit surprised. There wasn't a ton to the plot.
Yeah.
Not a ton happened. Oh my gosh, I always think about this one meme. I'm probably gonna butcher it, but it was talking about Jane Austen's books is just the characters going to each other's houses. I forgot the meme.
We'll have to put it on
it's
screen.
so
We'll put it
funny.
on the screen.
Yeah. Where it was like, Jane Austen's books are just like the characters going to each other's houses.
I was like, wow, nothing is happening. This is the true horror. And then Wuthering Heights was just like, it's right on like the cusp of a 5-star for me. Would probably say it's one of up there in my top favorite books of all time list for sure. I think it has a spot. Just makes you like feel so much, makes you feel everything. And I can really get behind the feelings of like just despair and misery and people who are destined and determined to be miserable. And it was just really affecting, while at the same time you just like hate everyone. Loved both of them. There's a clear favorite for me. I think there is for you too. Yeah, because our theme is the Gothic for this month. I guess we should probably start there.
The Gothic. So if we're going to talk about Northanger Abbey first, I want to compare it to another book.
Okay.
The thing that I loved the most about Northanger Abbey was how our main character, Catherine, has read so many Gothic novels that she kind of imagines that there is something mysterious happening at Northanger Abbey, at the Abbey, and she is like starving for a mystery and for everything that is saturated in her, in the novels that she's reading, especially The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe, which I just love how we have like a book that we could also read.
I know.
And kind of act as, or like read the books that one of Jane Austen's characters has read. I think it's really fun. What that reminded me of was Don Quixote, because Don Quixote, he read so many chivalry novels that he imagined himself to be a knight errant, and that is like the whole plot of the book, is that he read so many chivalry novels that it like messed with his mind, where he thinks that he's a knight in shining armor and he's gonna go and like save damsels in distress, and he even imagines that windmills are monsters, and he goes to fight the windmills, but they're just windmills, but he thinks that they're monsters. And it reminds me a lot of what Jane Austen does in Northanger Abbey, because it's Catherine imagining that there's more happening than there really is, because she's read so many Gothic novels.
Maybe Plato's right.
That was... Yeah. So I thought that was really fun to see that, because I loved that in Don Quixote. It was fun because I feel like one of my favorite things about Jane Austen is the comedic elements that she brings to her books and her humor.
Did you think it was funny?
Feel like I felt like parts of it were funny. Like,
yeah, no.
Really?
Okay, so the Gothic, just to run you down a little, I don't know, checklist if you're reading a book and you want to know, is it a Gothic tale? Do we have old ruined buildings, castles, abbeys in this one? Check. Do we maybe have damsels in distress? Check. Is there romance? And is it sometimes but not always like forbidden, or are they facing like some considerable obstacles? Check. And then of course there has to be the supernatural in some form. Are there ghosts? Northanger, it's all imagined pretty much. So maybe not so much, but that's where the parody comes in.
Slight check.
And then I guess one of the last big ones, are there curses? Are there prophecies? Are there some pronouncements of the future being made? Yeah, sure. So like Carolyn said, Catherine has read all these books along with her friend Isabella, who's a very new friend who she has met in town. When you first read about the two, you're like, oh, they're cute, they're nice, they're reading books together, that's so fun. And then you start to find out that Isabella is kind of a piece of shit.
They're all pieces of shit, honestly.
They are. Yeah, they are. And the thing is that Catherine is so naive. She's so young. I think she's like 17.
Yeah, 17.
And she always has her nose in a book, so she's always involved in like fiction. But like with Don Quixote, like she sees the fiction. She knows she's reading a good book, but in her own life she can't detect the same illusions, the same fictitious things that are going on, because almost everyone around her is so fake and being being a little fakey flake.
Very true.
But
even her own brother.
Even her. Oh wait, what did he do?
I said this in my wrap up.
Yeah.
James, right, is her brother. I just thought he was kind of an ass. Like,
yeah.
I felt like kind of made the situation with the Thorpes even worse, because he was like, oh, I just want to hang out with Isabella, so Catherine, like, I don't care if you don't want to come, like, you're coming with us. The way that the Thorpes manipulated her, and, like, forced her to go on the carriage ride and everything, I was like, you are so terrible.
Unfortunately, Catherine is on the guard for people who are wholly evil, people with knives, bandits in the night, murderers, and she doesn't see them. She's being gaslit, gatekeeped.
She is.
Girl bossed around. And she doesn't see it, and that's like the horror. Everyone around you is they're conspiring against you. They don't have your best interest at heart, and you're not surrounded by people who are actually kind and loving. Let's talk about why, like, Catherine wants to be frightened. She says this a bajillion and one times. She tells the reader, or Austen tells the reader, that Catherine has an imagination resolved on alarm and a mind craving to be frightened. She craves horror. She wants to encounter the horrifying. Why do we desire to feel fear?
Tell me.
A bro podcast right now. Tell me, Karen. Why do we desire to feel horror?
I think that she is so captivated by the books that she's reading, and I think that she wants to be the heroine in a novel, which is so ironic because she is. You know, like, she is the heroine in this novel.
True.
It's obviously a Gothic novel, but it's a parody on the Gothic. But
am I to be the hero of my own life?
Charles. We're reciting you. I feel like that's the same thing about Don Quixote, and that's the same thing about any reader, is like we all desire part of what we get from literature in our own lives. Look at her regular life. Not a ton happens.
Exactly.
So I think that she's striving for that excitement and that, like, you know, adventure and mystery and fear.
So we desire to be horrified because our own lives are so limited. I mean, look around, guys. Look, I went home for Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving. People's lawns are full of, like, decapitated skeletons, blood, witches, whatever.
You know, it's so funny. The other day I was thinking about this because I was going around my neighborhood and again I saw this, like, 10-foot skeleton, and it kind of hit me for the first time ever. That's us underneath this. Like, how weird is
so
this?
why do we want it? Why do you want it? I don't know, because I like so related to her. But for Catherine, I think, like, it's so much more, must be so much more heightened because it's the early 1800s. Her whole life is literally dictated for her, what she can do, what she can wear, and any chance, I think, of something new happening, something that petrifies everything else. I think what it is that something horrifying happening, whether it's like ghosts or like what she thinks is she's going to uncover in a chest or something, it makes the artifice and the fiction that we've all created of everyday life, it makes it all kind of fall away for her. How else is she going to have a chance to know herself, to, like, find some limit in herself? There's no opportunity for her in the society to come up and meet something, like, in herself without threat or danger. Can you know peace and calm? I don't know. We'll leave that to you.
Yes. Tell us.
Let us know. We got a lip break. We got a lip smacker break.
They're feeling a bit dry.
Which one are we using today?
This is the Mario.
It's a me.
By Mario. It's called Petal Glow.
Ooh.
It's the Moisture Glow Plumping Lip Serum. It's just like a lip balm with has a little tingle.
A little thrill, if you will.
A little thrill. Because, you know, regular chapsticks, the everyday
don't get you close enough to death.
No.
This one, though? It's great. Did you want to just talk about, like, the relationships? Okay, this book pissed me off.
Why?
Isabella, piss off. James, piss off.
Well, yeah.
John, straight to hell.
Talk about reading the situation incorrectly. She clearly did not want to be around you. Can I say my main complaint?
Absolutely.
I was not convinced by Catherine and Henry Tilney's chemistry.
Not at all.
Where is
But, like that's the horror, too.
What do you mean?
You're just kind of forced into these relationships. At the very end of the book, it says that Henry didn't really consider her, didn't really, like, look for her, wasn't, like, looking for marriage or anything like that from her until he knew that Catherine was interested in him, and he felt, what was the word used? Not charity, but gratitude. He felt gratitude that Catherine liked him, and that's initially why he started liking Catherine.
I always have a hard time, like I said earlier, not comparing Jane Austen to other Jane Austen. In Pride and Prejudice, Lizzie and Darcy's chemistry, off the charts. Emma and Mr. Knightley, again, I feel like off the charts. And in this one, I'm like, there were some moments where I really liked Mr. Tilney, and one quote that I wrote down that I really loved. Page 16, I said, I like him already, he's witty. But I think that was like the only time. On page 29, he says, oh, I'm delighted with the book. I should like to spend my whole life reading it. I have no notion of loving people by halves. It's not my nature. Those 2 lines I wrote down because I really liked those as well. Yeah, that's just my main complaint. I just was not convinced, did not feel it, like I did in Pride and Prejudice and Emma. So, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. I feel like I don't even really know who Henry is too much. I really love Eleanor, favorite character for sure.
Yeah, she's such a sweetheart.
Yeah, really, really loved her. The ending was a little weird, gonna say, a little off.
Yeah.
Who is her mystery man? We don't know. Not my favorite Austen.
Yeah, no, sadly not.
People are always like, to slide into Wuthering Heights, they're like, oh, I hate Heathcliff, I hate Catherine, I hate all these people.
Yeah.
Didn't have as violent a reaction to any of them as I did to Isabella and John. Because they're so fake. Because,
like, yeah, Isabella and John are, like, those terrible people that you meet in school that, like, you think that you're friends with them, but really they have, like, such bad intentions.
I think you wanted to talk about the dynamic between Catherine Henry, Kathy Heathcliff.
Kind of going off of, like, Catherine and Henry and Northanger Abbey, I just, like, did not feel any chemistry. Catherine and Heathcliff, where it's, like, passion, desire, and love, and jealousy, everything on high. And I think that that's what makes it so thrilling. They're very isolated from society. Young Catherine, like, never leaves the house. I think it also elevates the whole situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
And heightens all of their emotions, heightens everything that's going on. The quotes, like, the incredible quotes in this book, whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same. That's, like, one of my favorites. They're not even 2 people. They are, like, the same soul.
Just call me by your name, Core.
Seriously. If I killed you, haunt me then. Like, oh my god, like, yes.
Let's start with talking about what people don't like about it the most, is that it's just absolute misery. Just read a quote, I forget what famous author said it, but they were like, oh, I don't know how Emily Brontë wrote 10 pages of this without offing herself or something.
Oh god,
I forget what author said that, but yeah, anyway, I think a lot of people don't like it because it is, like, so miserable and the people are so awful. I don't have any problem with that at all.
I also don't have a problem with that.
I loved reading it. Well, loved and hated reading it. I think it's understandable why they're so miserable. I think because I first read it in high school, and I was like, Catherine, you don't have to marry Edgar. I think now that I've grown up, I'm like, it's not that easy. I more understand her fully now.
The Edgar is this very, like, more privileged, cleanly, like, clean-cut person that I think that she has an ideal of. But Heathcliff is more like the passion, her soul.
It's not their fault. Like, the world has absolutely made them miserable.
They also kind of make themselves miserable.
Absolutely. From the start, when Heathcliff is brought home, everyone hates him. He's obviously not considered the same class as Catherine. If she actually married Heathcliff, the property goes to Hindley. She gets nothing. She has nothing. And it would, like, ruin her whole life, in a sense, to be with Heathcliff. Like, they would be penniless.
So how do you feel about marrying for comfort or marrying for love?
In the book, at least, no matter what you do, you're always gonna, like, be with the person that you love, whether it's in a nice happy way, or whether you have to dig up their grave at the end of your life to be with them. So maybe you should have just been with them from the start. She doesn't really have a lot of choice. She's so isolated. She doesn't have anyone. They live in the middle of freaking nowhere. Heathcliff is just her. He's just everything she wants. He's like the wild, the nature, your childhood. He's like her whole childhood. What are you going to sacrifice for yourself, for other people? What are you going to give up? And then obviously when Catherine has married Edgar, there's just this one scene that's just so awful. After all of their fighting and Heathcliff has returned and like she's becoming physically ill from what is going on. So much of the book is just about that like yearning for childhood, that yearning for something else, especially the quote, "I wish I were a girl again, half savage and hardy and free." Oh God, it just hurts. It hurts. But she like wakes up out of a dream and she says, "Supposing at 12 years old I had been wrenched from the heights and every early association and my all in all, as Heathcliff was at that time, and I had been converted at a stroke into Mrs. Linton, the lady of Thrush Cross." Oh God. Why would Emily Brontë choose something that I can't say? Thrush Cross Grange. She said, "And I'm a wife of a stranger, an exile, and an outcast from what had been my world." She's just waking up in the middle of her life and being like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, I've become a stranger to myself, but at this point for her, like, it's too late to do anything about it. "I'm burning. I wish I were out of doors. I wish I was laughing at injuries, not maddening under them." Why did they make themselves miserable in Wuthering Heights? I think just because they're scared. In Northanger Abbey, you don't have all of this frivolity and finery and fictions and balls and society and she said that, he said that, gossip. Lockwood remarks on it like they live more earnestly, they live more in themselves. Everything is just more, you feel more.
Have they ever known freedom either? They're very limited because of where they live, because of their situation, because of the time.
I just want to talk about basic stuff and not dwell on so much misery. I forgot the whole Isabella Heathcliff thing. That was rough.
Yeah, poor girl.
I don't hate Heathcliff, don't hate Catherine, don't hate Edgar. I hate Linton. I hate Linton.
How can you not?
How did you feel? How did you feel about part 2?
I agree that Linton's a little sickly, little, eel, like you said. The whole dynamic is so interesting to me, where we have Heathcliff's son with, Heathcliff and Isabella's son. Then we have Kathy and Edgar's daughter. And then they come together. Like, it's just such a mess. And, like, their dynamic, where I feel like young Kathy is being so incredibly manipulated, not only by Linton, but because Linton's being manipulated by Heathcliff. Like, it's just such a mess. Kind of a separate point, but I just thought about this as well. I do want to acknowledge the fact that we are getting all of this through 2 separate parties. We're getting this from Nellie, who, and then Nellie is telling Lockwood, and we're getting it from Lockwood. I love where Emily Brontë puts us in the narrative, where like we are very much outside of the situation, yet you feel like you are incredibly in the situation. And I was going to mention, it's kind of like watching a train wreck, where like you can't look away. The way that Emily Brontë broke up the narrative between like the 2 generations, I think is incredibly interesting. Obviously, Heathcliff is the one that lasts the longest, and to see him change throughout the novel is so interesting, from the beginning being like a young boy brought to Wuthering Heights, and then everything that he did.
I do like to, even as much as like Heathcliff goes on a mission after Catherine dies of just like absolutely revenging himself on Edgar and like ruining the family, obtaining Thrush Cross Grange and ruining Hareton's life as well, getting his revenge on Hindley. It doesn't work out. Eventually the second generation like comes together and they heal what has been done, which is so nice, because in the end the personalities, the duplicates of Catherine and Heathcliff do end up together. But the language, oh wow.
I was saying this, I think in one of my videos, that I wish we got more from Emily Brontë. Like, we have her poetry, we have Wuthering Heights. I just feel like you can feel her spirit in everything that she writes. In Wuthering Heights, in her poetry. Her voice is just so incredible.
It just makes you want to go pull up some grass and, like, scream at the moon.
It makes you want to run onto the moors and yell. I'm also really glad that we read these at this time of year, because I am such a seasonal reader. Like, I love reading books that kind of like go with the atmosphere that you're living in, and I do think that kind of proves the point where like we're always striving to almost be one with the books that we're reading, and like blur the lines of fiction and reality.
I think on the next reread, something I would do differently is just from the beginning, like really not like investigate Ellie, not put like Nellie on trial or anything, but like really track what she's doing more, because she does a lot of questionable things, and like how much can we blame certain people in the novel for things that happen.
And also like what she's observing. Her position is a bit precarious because she's you know, like working for them, but she's also kind of like another mother figure, like a nurse figure to Kathy, both Kathys. Even Heathcliff a bit. She talks about like watching them grow up and everything and being part of their life. I do think that I was trying to take note of like the narrative structure and how much Nellie is giving us, because we aren't getting it from the characters. Like, we're getting it from this third party and then from like a fourth party. I was asking myself when I was reading, like, how much are we getting that's true, and how much are we getting that maybe like Nellie misinterpreted, or like the phone telephone, where it's like, oh, you know, you hear one thing from one person and then it changes as it goes down the line.
Which one was your favorite this time?
Wuthering Heights.
Yeah. Yeah, Wuthering Heights, absolutely.
I haven't reread Jane Eyre in a while, but Jane Eyre was the classic that got me into reading classics, and it holds such a special place in my heart, and just being back in a Brontë novel, so wonderful.
Yeah, we will probably be back to our regular live show in December now.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
Crazy.
But you guys said you liked both formats, so maybe we could still do both or something like that. We'll see what happens in December for the last couple of months.
We are going to be reading.
We're going to be reading some Shakespeare. So it's going to be 12th Night in November, and then for December we're going to be reading one of Carolyn's favorite books.
I'm so excited. Yevgeny Onegin by Alexander Pushkin. I am so ready for you to read this book. I am expecting you to hate it, because every time I think you're going to love a book, I feel like you don't like it. So I think it's one of the most beautifully written books I have ever read. I am excited.
I think I'm gonna like it.
Okay. I think you're going to like it. I'm not sure how you're going to feel about the writing. Like I said, I think it's one of the most beautiful books I've ever read, if not the most beautiful book, just because it's so lyrical, and it's literally a novel in verse, so of course it's lyrical.
Thank you for being here. We hope you enjoy both of these. We've seen so many people reading them, so that's fun.
Yeah, very fun. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. Thank you, as always. And I hope you had a relaxing little podcast moment with us. So, ciao.
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 Ciao. I think my mom's home.
Hi, Mom. Hello, Mother. Ciao, Mama.